Oh! Alright, the robots from his room. I love the framing here. Beautiful. Oh! The Burj Khalifa? Wow. Heavens Arena checks out. Makes sense. The sky is the limit, eh? That's a great design. Oh. Love that. Go. Haha, Bruce Lee. Okay. And a chance to make a lot of money, right? So. Ah, yes. And people that are just really into challenging themselves. People like Ahsoka would love this. There's something in Pokemon that's kind of similar to this, I think. The Battle Tower? It's a long time ago, but... Ah, the spectators. Almost feels like the early days of the UFC. Do tell? Of course. And of course. Whoa. He seems to have good memories about it. That's our dude. Right into it, I like it. You'll find out. Oh. Ooh. Sure did, but there's 3 of them together. Whoa. Sure is. I mean, even he's surprised by this. Ooh. It's quite the jump. I suppose, yeah, that's the point of it, right? To gauge it. Yeah, he's been here. Oh, separate floors. Ah. Look at this dude. Oh, there's another one. New friend? Hopefully. Okay. Disciplined. Okay. Goes up by 10? Okay. 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 Checks out. Simple enough. Nice. Zush? I mean, it was written like Zushi. Humble. Yeah, these two are a bit different, my guy. So he's essentially an example of a normal kid? Zushi? It is Zushi. That's Master? I like these types of masters or senseis. Disheveled, but clearly quite formidable, maybe? But why is Zushi here? Yes, let's go, boys. Oh,
152ジェニー。1回は勝っても負けてもジュース1本分のギャラ。
Okay.
だけど次の回からは負けたらゼロ。
So is it kind of like
勝てば50
$1.50
回
maybe?
5
$1?
万はもらえるぜ。5万か。
Ooh.
100回なら100万ぐらいだったかな。
Oh.
150回を越すとギャラも1000万を楽に越す。
But it's similar to yen though, right? But still, that's insane.
200回まで行ったんでしょ。200回に行った時点でやめちゃったからわかんないけど、
Interesting.
190回クラスで勝った時は2億ぐらい貯まってたかな。2億。
Not that he needs
その
it,
お金は
given his family.
4年前だぜ。怒ってるわけねえじゃん。全部お菓子代に消えたっつうの。2億が4年でお菓子代に。ま、この程度のやつらなら楽勝だよ。
Damn.
気楽に行こうぜ。そうなの？キルアさん。声でかいっす。
続いて1963番寿司様
How about that?
57回 A 闘技場へお越しください。
おっす。胸をお借りします。ああ、まあくじ運くじ運。次頑張れよ。
Oh, it's been decided apparently.
上の階で待ってるぜ。ゴン。
He's quite short.
あんなにはっきり言わなかったっていいのに。
Yeah. Ooh, is that the new mid-episode card? That looks beautiful at night. Full house. They do have to make their money, right? One chop. Ooh. Oh, I love this presentation. Ah, okay. Like I said, they have to make their money somehow, right? Live betting. He's not gonna like that.
やばいっす。キルアさん怒ってるっす。
I've got a lot of questions about that pairing though. Zushi and Master. Oh, there's that chop.
悪いな。150回くらいまではこの手刀一本で行くつもりなんだ。
Ah, Zushi. Okay, it's like a combination of the two. Look at this. So that was a superb attack. Is he gonna get up? Is he gonna get up?
この一撃でしまいだよ、バーカ。
やれるか？
Hey, let's go. Let's go, Zushi. Come on. Ooh, that expression though. Ooh.
にしてもどういうことだ。今のはかすっただけで悶絶しててもおかしくない一撃のはずだぞ。
But it didn't. Interesting. This is an interesting fellow, isn't it?
速さもパワーも桁違い。このままじゃ全く勝負にならないっす。
Do you have a trick?
あれを
Oh, maybe he does.
やるしか。
Let's see. Whoa, I've seen this before. I've seen this presentation before. So is he, right? Illumi. It was exact. Oh, it's forbidden? But this kid can do something like that? Something Illumi was kind of doing?
少し時間がかかったみたいだね。
That was the exact same presentation as Illumi a few episodes ago.
結構強かったんだ、ズシ。いや、全然。
And his reaction was
あいつは強くなる。殴りたい放題だったよ。
talk about the thing.
なのに倒せなかった。ポイントを取って TKO 勝ちはしたけど、結局倒すことはできなかったんだ。それに、
Yes.
あいつが構えを変えた途端、兄貴と同じ嫌な感じがしたんだ。なんかわかんないけどやばい感じ。あれきっと何かの技なんだ。
言ったはずだよ、ズシ。電はまだ使うなと。
すみません。
Not yet.
相手の強さのあまり、そのつい。
だがお前の目標ははるか先にあるのだろ。
Here's a bit of insight.
この塔の最上階に。
There it is.
最上階に行くまでは、そのレンっていうのを使っちゃいけないってこと？
Or that's around the time he's going to need to use it,
当
perhaps?
然一番強いやつがいるんだよね
For that reason?
ちょっと予定変えるぜ
Do tell.
俺も最上階を目指す
Okay.
ついに100回クラスに進出決定
So they should get the rooms, right?
キルアと押し出しのゴン果たして2人
Uh,
の最新劇
the
はど
chop
こま
and
で続くの
push.
でしょうか
I'm sure there's some monsters up there. Beautiful. Yes.
やったー個室だ
この個室は100階から落ちればすぐにチェックアウトだ
Mm.
90階から100階に上がれたことと100階以上に残ることとは全く違う
Ah. But sooner or later, that it's going to require something a bit more than the chop and the push, right? He said there's people that are comparable to Hisoka that are up there. Now they're really raking it in, right?
数字が見たこともない桁になってる
I love that.
つい1週間前まで無一文だったのに
And that's Heaven's Arena for you.
150階まで登るのに2ヶ月かかったぜなのにお前はでもそれって6歳の時
But he's a special 6-year-old.
まあ
Or was.
キルアがすごく嫌な感じがしたっていう
Yeah.
レンって
Yeah.
一体何なんだろうね
And it's potentially the same thing Hisoka was exhibiting.
それをか通信に直接聞けば早いんじゃない
Or that.
レンは4体行の一つっす4体行とは心を高め心を鍛えるすべての格闘技に通じる
He's
基
got
本
that
っす
discipline. Though he had a
剣を
moment.
知り絶を覚え連を得て発に至る
Hatsu. Dang.
これすべて連の修行っす
This feels kind of meta almost.
わかんねえよ
あなたは人に教えられるほど物を収めたのか
I
な
like him. But there's got to be an interesting story here.
でも俺は今知りたいんだよねそれは兄貴の強さの秘密にもつながるから
君の兄さんも念を
念
追うわけか
そ
So
の
that's a-
連だか連だかわかんねえから知りたいんだ
Yeah, likewise, yeah.
俺だって半端に知るよりきちんと理解したいあんたがちゃんと教えてくれれば俺も下手に我流で
No
覚えよう
half
とはしないよ
measures. Go to the source.
私の宿に行きましょうか
Ah,
念とは連とは
so this is the purpose, perhaps, of this story arc?
そこに兄イルミの強さを見つけたキルは
The potential power system.
ゴンもまたその正体を知りたいと思って
Of
い
course,
た
of course. Right then, let's get into it. Episode 27, the beginning of a brand new story arc. And, you know, it really truly felt like, yeah, it's the beginning, just a beginning of something brand new, right? I mean, yes, you know, that's the whole point of it, but just even the boys themselves, you know, Killua, as they get off of the aircraft, you know, there's this sense of building everything from scratch once again, building towards something, right? Because as he said, you know, by the end of the trip, they've used up all of their funds, right? But of course, by the end of it, they're back in the green, essentially, right? And I mean, they're getting paid quite handsomely at this point as well, right? Making it to the hundreds. But as Killua stated, you know, getting to the hundreds is quite a crucial point, this threshold. And, you know, he said something like making it to the hundreds and actually maintaining it, staying in the hundreds is a totally different ballgame. He didn't say that specifically, but something along those lines, a totally different animal, perhaps. I think that might have been the line of dialogue. But, you know, it kind of reminds me of something that's kind of common in combat sports, right? It's this notion of becoming the champ is, of course, it's a tough task, but the tougher task than that is to actually maintaining that championship, you know, being the champ, defending your title, staying at that level, right? So there's a lot of exciting ideas and concepts at play throughout this episode. But yeah, after that really exciting setup in the last episode, I really get a look at this Heavens Arena, right? I mean, it's a great concept. It really is. I just love the idea of it, right? Fighting towards the top, you know, level by level. I mean, you know, the thing is, it could take you years. Killua at age 6, it took him 2 years to get to level 200, right? Even as a 6-year-old, he had quite a bit of training, assassin training, right? Now imagine just regular fighters, because it's been clear for some time now that, yeah, you know, the world of this anime, of this story, it certainly has just normal humans, but then you also have some really special humans. But this episode takes it even further, right? Because now there's this new element. Now it's not a new element, but now I kind of have a name for it. Now it's actually going there. The story itself is going there at this point, right? And like I said, it felt like this is essentially the point of the story arc, most likely, right? To introduce the concept of Nen. Zushi's master said, your brother can use Nen? Something along those lines, right? So Nen is the term for it. So now, there's another interesting angle, because now, it'll be really, really interesting to see if someone is actually utilizing this technique, right? Or if it's something that is another type of technique that is special to that person. You look at the Zoldyck family, assassins, right? Supremely talented assassins. There's a lot of techniques there that are not Nen, clearly, right? The moment I said that, I'm not even sure anymore, because now it's been confirmed that Illumi was using this technique. So there was something about it, right? That whole notion of it almost kind of feeling like he's manipulating Killua, that he is kind of exerting some sort of influence on him. And Killua said as much. It's this really creepy feeling, and he got the exact same feeling as Zushi kind of taps into his Ren, right? And Zushi wasn't even actually using Nen, right? Because this specified, I told you, he's apologizing to Master later, and the Master told him, you're not supposed to use Ren yet, right? You're supposed to use it at the top floor. Let's put a pin in that, and I'll come back to it. But yeah, so Illumi is clearly quite proficient in this. But beyond Illumi, as you'll remember, I mentioned, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure how long ago it was, but it was around the time they're in the forest, right? Trying to take the tags from each other, or collect the tags. In one of those episodes, or the discussion for one of those episodes, I mentioned that it's becoming really quite clear that the power system, or the power scaling, a lot of it is already on display. I've seen it, right? I'm seeing stuff take place. I'm seeing really strange and fascinating things happening on screen, but they haven't been explained yet. And I remember I said then, I like that approach. I do. But now it appears that the anime is about to give me proper insight into the power system, essentially. Nen, as they call it. But yeah, stuff like Hisoka's bloodlust in that forest. I think it might have been that episode, actually. It was this really stunning moment, really perplexing moment, as he was exuding this energy, right? It's really quite a striking scene. And Gon actually immediately picks up on it. His reaction there was the exact same reaction he had on the airship, right? It was him and Killua, and who shows up? The chairman. And the chairman decides, I'm going to do something here. He tries something, right? And he did something. That could have been this. That could have been him using Nen, right? Because he essentially made his presence known. And both Killua and Gon immediately get that shock in their system. All of a sudden they feel this presence, right? Like a jolt. And yeah, it was the same type of reaction in the forest as well, as Hisoka is having his moment, right? Bloodlust was kind of the term I was using at that point, because that's the thing that made the most sense. But I also knew that there's something special going on here in terms of the power system of this anime. Now, I think I have a bit of a grasp on it, right? It's essentially meant to be this concept. And our master here has taken on 2 more students, disciples, perhaps, in Gon and Killua, alongside Zushi. Yeah, it's exciting, man. It's really quite exciting. So now having seen that, I can see this arc actually becoming a bit longer than I initially expected, or it being longer than I initially expected, right? Because I had no idea this concept's about to get introduced. Right? And that's the thing. That's the thing about this anime. You think you'll be getting one thing, but by the end of it, or from the midpoint, just around the time Zushi kind of gets fed up, or not fed up, starts to feel a bit, he's feeling like he's on the back foot. He's beginning to feel a bit desperate, and he decides he's going to have to use it. And at that point, he's trying to tap into Ren. But just the Ren aspect of it, right, or the Ren element of it, that gave Killua the same feeling. He immediately gets back right to the edge of the stage, because he knows that there is something, I don't know, dangerous about it, something off about it, right? Creepy and all that. But the fact that he's actually experienced it out here once again, it opened up a new door, a new possibility, right? He pivots the goal. He wants to go to the top floor now because he overheard that conversation as well between Zushi and the master, or a sensei, or his master, right? And then of course, after that, they have a full-on conversation about it, about wanting to learn this, right? No half measures. He didn't want to half-ass it. He just wants to go straight to the source. And he asked him, right? Can you teach me? If you teach me properly, I'm not going to have any need to kind of just get fragments of it or misunderstand a crucial concept or component of it. And it appears that there is quite a bit to it. It's not just as simple as Nen. That's essentially the final term that they use for it, that whole ability, but it's built up of a lot of different things, different components. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into it, to really learn about this system. I mean, Zushi tried. He tried his best to explain it, but I felt that it was a really cool meta moment, right? It's like, okay, let me explain this to you. I'm going to give you all the details. Here, this, there's like 4 different things. And, then you kind of use a lot of it to use Nen, or make use of Nen, or tap into Nen, right? And he's so sure of it as well. But then, of course, you see in Gon and Killua's reaction, it kind of mirrors our reaction as the audience, right? Really quite perplexed and confused. It's not going to be as easy as that. So the anime is doing a fantastic job here by essentially telling us, strap yourself in. It's going to get tricky, right? There's going to be a lot of moving pieces here, that there's going to be a lot that needs to be explained here. But, before I move on, let me kind of go back to my point about, experiencing some of these moments before Nen is ever mentioned. And, just now it was mentioned in this episode. So yeah, things like perhaps Hisoka's bloodlust moment in that forest. Things like Illumi, right? Illumi certainly had something going on. There's something about his eyes as well. Again, see, there is the distinction though, right? I kind of touched up on it earlier, the Zoldyck family and the concept of Nen. Because, a lot of the abilities are really, native to the Zoldyck family. That bloodline, the teachings, right? The training of that family. So it'll be interesting to see through Illumi, I suppose, because, that's one example of a Zoldyck that is using this concept, this technique, Nen, but is also quite versed in the techniques of the assassin family itself. Now, see, I have 2 possibilities for some of these things as far as the Zoldicks go, or Illumi specifically, because, again, he's the only one that's shown this so far. Let's look at that needle thing he does for an example. Is that a Zoldyck technique? Is that an assassin technique, right? Being a master of disguise, or is there some element of Nen playing a part in that as well? The shapeshifting element, right? See, now there's two possibilities, and then of course beyond that, now you have to ask the question. Okay, so Illumi clearly is using this technique. But Killua has no idea about it. He's learning right now, out there in the field, right? And the thing is, as I'm saying it, that's kind of the approach his father is open to, right? He's open to letting Killua go out there because ultimately he is supremely confident that his son is going to return sooner or later because my blood runs through him. He's so confident about that. So he's more than open to letting him have these experiences. But yeah, the fact that Killua has no idea about it up until this point at least, and he's taken quite the interest in it, right? Because he feels that he can get equal footing with his brother Illumi if he's able to understand and harness this ability and really kind of master it, perhaps. But I'm sure mastering it is going to take some time as well. Let's not jump the gun here because they're just about to get an introduction to it, right? Both them and I. But yeah, so it's not part of their training. It's not part of the Zoldyck assassin training. So Illumi picked it up outside as well, right? But again, you can also speculate that maybe Illumi did learn from Silva, maybe from his grandpa. Maybe they know all of this. Right? Maybe for the sake of the story, they just didn't have anyone mention it up until that point, right? Because they wanted it to come up here in this arc, in the beginning of this arc, and then of course it's going to build on it, right? Now, see, that reminds me, I'm thinking of Illumi, and I spoke of Netero earlier, the chairman, and I've been going on about this potential, or speculation about this potential influence that he might have had on Killua, that he might have actually manipulated him in killing Bodoro, right? But one of my questions was, okay, Netero, the chairman, is this really experienced and incredible individual, right? So I've always thought that, okay, if there was any sort of manipulation, some kind of technique being used, right, to influence Killua at that moment, I just felt that, okay, he might pick up on it, or that someone like him is going to pick up on something like that. But the thing is, nothing like that ever comes up. He never mentioned anything like that, right? But now, I'm beginning to think, okay, maybe it's there, maybe it is present, and he knows about it, but there might be a reason that he's not able to maybe bring it up. But yeah, let's go back to the episode itself. I get 2 new characters, like I've mentioned a few times now, Zushi and his master. It's an interesting pairing, of course. So I'm really quite excited to see the backstory on that, right? Apparently Zushi's goal is to get to the top floor, right? The reason he's here is to get to that floor for, I don't know, again, unknown reasons, right? They haven't explained that just yet, but I'm sure, I'll get to hear a bit of his own backstory throughout the next few episodes, and how, he pairs up with Master, his sensei. How does this come to be? Does he have parents? Does he have a family? Is he, I don't know, an orphan maybe? And then what about the master himself, sensei? Like I mentioned, he doesn't look the part perhaps, but clearly he's a bit of a master, isn't he? Looks can be deceiving for sure. But like I said, I really love the idea of that type of master or sensei. Someone who might not look the part, and they'll be quite disheveled, as this one is as well. I don't think I got a name beyond master or sensei. But yeah, the shirt, I love that. I love that little quirk, right? But there's that moment inside of the arena itself, as he just yells and just brings a whole arena to a halt, right? Zushi had to stop immediately. But yeah, how exactly is this man this authority on Nen, right? Is there going to be an interesting backstory there as well? I'm sure there is. But of course, Zushi is a fantastic new addition. He's this respectful and disciplined young man, even though he had his moment out there, right? He did, but still, just a really wholesome character to have around. And, by the end of it, you can see that his introduction is also going to facilitate the introduction of this concept, this major aspect of this story, clearly, and the power system, the power scaling, and all of that, right? This Nen system. This arc, the Heavens Arena arc, is going to be kind of staging a lot of that, clearly. And I'm guessing by the time I get to some of the really high levels, or higher floors, that's going to be around the time I'll be seeing a lot of these killers, monsters up top, right? People that are meant to be comparable to people like Hisoka. Killua said something like that, right? People like Hisoka are up top at the higher levels. I mean, essentially, this type of setup, this type of place is heaven for Hisoka. But again, that being said, Hisoka's not going to get anything out of it at the lower levels, right? So for him, it's all about being really high up. So if Hisoka was to come here to Heaven's Arena, and for all I know, he might have been here before, right? That simply easily could be the case. But for someone like him to get something substantial out of this experience, he would have to go to the top levels, right? That's the only place he's going to be comfortable in anyways. It'll be interesting to see once our boys get up there as well, because that's the goal at the moment, to get to the top floor, right? Let's kind of touch up on the structure itself. It's this monolithic monstrosity of a structure, right? And it's really quite it's really quite similar looking to the Burj Khalifa. Now, the thing is, this came long before that, right? The manga came long before that. I don't know. I guess I can just look it up, but is there a possibility that the Burj Khalifa takes inspiration from that design? But of course, the whole thing is also this lucrative business as well, right? There's live betting. I'm sure there's television broadcast rights as well. I'm sure, they're showing it on some channel, some specialty combat sports channel in that universe, right? So yeah, they're raking it in. They're making a lot of money. It's kind of reminiscent of a casino, but in a combat sports setting as well. And you can see it in the prize money that they are able to offer to the fighters that make it to, you know, higher levels, fighters that are able to ascend to a much higher floor number, right? So yeah, oof. And the thing is, Killua made a fortune out here, a substantial amount, and he spent it all on snacks and toys from the looks of it, right? They show me that shot of him and those little robots he loves so much. He's got like 30, 40 copies of the exact same toy. And again, you know, there's something so charming about that, right? Killua playing with a little robot toy. Even in the last episode, remember, he's just chilling on the couch. I saw him and his pile of robot toys, and I was like, I don't know, it was a little bit jarring at first, but then, you know, you just immediately remember, you know, he's a kid. Of course he likes these types of things. They gave us those little like moments back at Trick Tower as well, right? Both him and Gon just being kids. But the thing is, a 6-year-old Killua got really high up, right? The whole point was that he has to get to floor 200, and it took 2 years, and then he can come home. So he must have run into a few opponents that are using Nen, right? He must have, surely, right? That's really quite high up at that point. I mean, just breaking into the hundreds is quite a major deal. So, you know, getting into the 200s or just kind of getting close to the 200s as well. Yeah, that's yeah. Again, a different ball game, different caliber of fighter up there, right? I mean, it's essentially and almost literally a case of the best rising to the top. And, you know, as I'm thinking about this, I'm just thinking about how cool of a fighting game this could be, right? Hunter x Hunter Heavens Arena. Maybe there's something like that out there, right? Once I finish this, I'm going to Google it. But yeah, the whole setup and the whole concept of it is essentially heaven for a seasoned prize fighter. But, you know, going back to Zushi for a moment, you know, I felt that maybe they're giving us or showing us a character that is maybe similar in age to Gon and Killua, maybe a little bit younger, or maybe he's just a little bit shorter than the two. To me, it kind of felt like, okay, you know, I'm going to get to see the progression of someone who is essentially normal, I think, for the most part. Zushi, that is, in comparison to the progression of someone like Gon and Killua, or people like Gon and Killua, special people. But, you know, again, I don't have a backstory on Zushi just yet. There could be something quite, I don't know, fascinating in his background as well. So let's see. But yeah, you know, to me, it felt like this is a really, you know, diligent, disciplined, respectful, hardworking individual. A child, I mean, he is a kid at the end of the day, that is legitimately just leveling up through martial arts, right? That's his thing. He's a martial arts practitioner, right? He actually even specified the exact martial art. Ooh, also, let me kind of go back to the prize money aspect of it. And, you know, Killua earning that much money the last time he was around. You know, I mentioned during the episode that, okay, you know, his family is... I don't know, they're loaded, absolutely loaded, you know, and this amount of money is perhaps inconsequential to them, right? But the thing is, Killua is clearly not able to access that money, right? He's claiming to be broke, right? He's not just saying it, he actually is broke, or broke in the sense that he's not carrying any of that money, right? You know, I guess it's maybe by choice. Maybe he doesn't have access to it. Maybe he's not allowed access to it if he goes outside. They didn't really touch up on it. So yeah, you know, I do kind of take back my comment about Killua maybe not needing this given his family's status. But yeah, next up on the agenda is learning about this concept of Nen, Ren and Nen, right? Ren essentially leads to Nen. And essentially anything that's been, I don't know, magical or supernatural maybe can be explained by the presence of Nen. But again, you know, I cannot forget that there's also special people out here, that not everything is going to be Nen or explained through the use of Nen, right? There's special people like the Zoldyck clan, assassins, right? Highly rated assassins. You know, there's special people like Gon, right? People of that ilk do exist out there, you know, without the use of Nen. You know, look at Kurapika in his clan or his lake clan, right? The Scarlet Eyes. I think I said Crimson Eyes in the last one. It's meant to be Scarlet Eyes. There's a lot of unique and special people out there. And you know, the thing is it even possible that, you know, people like Kurapika and, you know, Killua and Gon have actually maybe indirectly used these techniques without even knowing it, right? Maybe they are using some of these techniques, some of the foundational elements
that built towards Nen. Maybe they are making use of it and they don't even know it, right? Not Nen itself, the grand concept of it, but some of the building blocks of it, right? Zushi named a few of them, right? I think there's 4 different parts to it. He called it exercises, but I suppose that might mean techniques, different techniques, or different elements, or different principles. And finally, I just kind of wanted to mention something that's really quite wholesome and sweet, and really quite noticeable in this episode as well. You'll have these moments between Gon and Killua, right? These gazes at each other, or between each other, right? Really quite sweet and wholesome. You can just see how much each one of them means to each other. You'll see Killua is out there, he's got a smile on his face, and he'll be looking back at Gon just clapping for him. And let's see how that aspect of it plays out. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or perhaps timer-based full length or full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, things like Twitter or Instagram, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 28. Until then, take it easy.